long as you're willing to work. Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know I'm bringing you the information and the conversations to help you make the money and get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. And y'all, this week we are broadcasting live from one of my favorite cities. Your girl is out here in LA, okay? I had the opportunity to travel to LA to support the book launch of one of my friends, and y'all know that I had to get in some work while I was here. And so lo and behold, I landed on Good Media's studio, slid in their DMs, and I got the good moms that make a few bad choices in the building. So I want to say welcome to the podcast, but this is y'all shit. So thank you for welcoming me to your space, and thank y'all for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for trusting us with your podcast.
Yes.
Welcome to LA.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me with open arms. This space is beautiful. If y'all are in LA and you want to record some professional content, this is definitely a space to check out and support. But for the people who may be unfamiliar with who the Good Moms are, can y'all give us a little bit of background on how you came together and how you created the amazing brand Good Moms Bad Choices?
Hi, I'm Mila. I am one half of Good Moms Bad Choices. And how did we come to Good Moms Bad Choices? Well, Erica and I...
First we had sex, then we became moms.
Not with each other. First we had sex, not with each other. Then we got pregnant. We were pregnant around the same time, and we didn't have very many mommy friends. I think we were both... the first of our friends to have kids. I was around like 26, Erica's like 27. So we were pretty young, even though, you think you're grown. So we were in long-term relationships. We got pregnant. We decided we're going to keep those babies. We're going to be a family. And we had those babies, and we figured out that pretty quickly, like, this shit is hard and isolating. And prior to that, the Instagrams and the socials will show you, the people in your neighborhood. And I think we had scrolled past each other quite a few times because we have a mutual friend. And naturally, we're like, who the fuck is this bitch who is pregnant? And I'm pregnant. And I think when I first saw Erica, actually, she was pregnant, and she was getting proposed to at her baby shower. And, you make a thousand assumptions online. So I saw this. I was like super jealous because she was doing it right. She was getting engaged. She got a big fat rock. In my mind, she was getting engaged to like a filthy rich African, and and that was not my story. So like that's the story I made up in my mind, and I was pretty jealous. And then
and I had also fell upon Jamila on IG as well. Actually, the first time I saw her, it was she was still pregnant at the time, and I saw her, and I was like, oh my God, she's so like small and petite and just has a belly. And I was like, I'm like gained 70 pounds in my pregnancy, and she was like still kind of like being sexy in the mirror, and I was like, she was like a mirror to me. So I was definitely I felt jealous. I was like, who is she? And then fast forward, she had her baby. I was still pregnant at the time. And I see her at the pool. She was at a pool party in like this tiny little bathing suit, holding a glass of champagne with Luna on her hip. And again, I was like, oh my God, like she's out with her kid at the pool party, like obviously judging her as well, because I had subscribed to this idea that I had to change when I became a mom, and that like those days were done. But even though I judged her, I was still like, who is she? Like, where is she at? And I think, again, my friend, I had my daughter. My friend shared a story with her again. I was like, listen, where is this mommy friend? Where is this girl, the only friend in the group that has the baby? And so she's like, oh, we're actually going out tonight. You should come see her. And so, or come meet her. And so I dropped my daughter off. She's about 3 months old, to my mom, and pumped in the car literally, and went into this bar to meet my future business partner and best friend. Totally something I would never normally do. Maybe now, but back then, like, I was like, I got my friends. I don't need no new friends, But I was desperate. And so thankfully, I found Jamila in the bathroom. She was super friendly. We planned a play date. We got together like a few days later. And, we kept it really surface at first because, you're still getting to know somebody. And you're like, how are you doing? We're like, I'm so good. I'm so happy. I'm going to get married. I'm so happy. Meanwhile, I was like dying inside. And same with her. And so I think we hung out a few more times. But, if you're a mom, it's really hard to maintain just to maintain yourself, let alone friendships. So we lost track of each other. And I would say around 2 years later, me and my partner had broken up really unexpectedly in a very dramatic ghetto way. And it had gotten through the grapevine of our friendship, and Jamila had heard about it, and her daughter's birthday was coming up. So she was like, hey, we haven't spoken in a while. You should come to my daughter's birthday. And I was like, perfect. So I came because at that point, I had been single for a while now, and I was really excited about where I was at. I had joined Tinder. I had started swiping and meeting new people. And then somewhere along that journey, I started dating a married couple.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to circle the block on that one. Okay.
But I felt excited about it, but kind of ashamed because I didn't have anyone to share this with. Especially I had no mommy friends in my group that I felt like could understand. Especially my other friends that didn't have kids. Like, what are you talking about, girl? You having threesomes and going to take your kid in at the end of the night? Yes. So I was like, oh my God, if there's one mommy friend I can share this story with, it's Jamila, the girl by the pool with the champagne and the little bikini. And so I went there to tell her, A, me and my partner are broken up. B, I'm dating a married couple. And C, I've been listening to podcasts. Do you want to start one? And even when I asked her, I really try to go back in my mind and think about why, what was I thinking? Because I was not trying to start a business. I was not trying to do shit. I just feel like I just wanted to have a project with a new friend, and I wanted to sit down and talk. I knew that in our brief moments that we had spent together, we'd had really good conversation. And she was my only mommy friend. And so I started listening to podcasts, and there were none about single motherhood. It was all very married, very white. And there definitely wasn't any single Black moms talking about single motherhood and dating. So I was like, well, the space seems wide open. We could just, see what happens. And I told her about my story. And, I think me oversharing this new dating situation that I was in made Mila feel like, oh, shit. Okay, well, we can share freely here.
Disarmed her.
Yeah. And so, thankfully she said yes to starting the podcast. And I think the next week we were like, what do we do? Let's have a photo shoot. And so we took some pictures, which is still we've just recently updated our avatar, but it was our avatar.
No, it's still the same.
It is?
It's like
Maybe
on podcast.
On podcast, it is. It was our photo shoot, and then a week later, we were like, we should probably record something.
Yeah.
So we just pressed record, and we're like, it's a practice. We ended up talking for 90 minutes, and we're like, bitch, I'm not about to do this again. So we just put it out, and we didn't really think anybody was going to listen besides maybe our friends, and obviously we were wrong. And it's been this amazing journey that we've been able to take together. And I think because we didn't think anybody was listening, we were really bold and we didn't hold back. And that has really been, I think, the superpower of our friendship, of our platform, is just the vulnerability, the honesty, the bad choices, the good choices. And that's kind of how we got to be Good Moms, Bad Choices.
And what year was that?
2018.
So several things. I love that y'all were secretly jealous of each other. And yet y'all still, because that's a very real thing. And the fact that y'all can even sit here and admit it, and it's easier to admit it with a friend, right? But jealousy, envy, these are very real human emotions that all of us experience. And I think it's kind of silly to pretend like we don't. So for you all to admit it, I think that definitely disarms other people. It makes other people feel comfortable with being who they truly are, not feeling. And I think that's what y'all got from each other too. It's like, well, if you're willing to overshare, if you're not ashamed to tell me this, let me tell you some shit I've been doing. Let me tell you what I got going on. And I think your listeners appreciate that as well, because it is very much, there's so much judgment with moms, right? We see this everywhere in terms of social media and just reality TV. And just when you are a mom, you're supposed to live in this mom box, operate like a mom, look like a mom, dress like a mom, talk like a mom. no, it's impossible. It's literally impossible to do. And you mentioned like feeling like you had to change. Do you feel like you have changed since becoming a mom? Do you feel like you have been avoiding change because you don't want to become whatever you think a mom is? Like, how has that transition, the reality of the transition been versus kind of the idea of what you thought it would be becoming a mom?
I mean, I think I've definitely changed. I think that inevitably, as women, when we bring life into this world, there's a level of it's literally a rite of passage. There's this major shift
Mhm.
in how you view yourself and your responsibilities and your child's needs versus your needs. Um, but I think that prior to having my daughter, I was kind of in a space too where I really didn't know what my purpose was. I had kind of dabbled in a lot of different things all my life, acting, modeling, working for my mom's beauty company. And I hadn't really like settled into like who I was. And then I was also now bringing life into the world. So I felt it was even easier for me to feel like I had to, um, subscribe to whatever I see in social media or like what my family is telling me I need to do now and what I can't do now, because I already felt insecure about like
You didn't
who
know
is
yourself.
Erica? Yeah. Um, so I think now that I think once you really step into the role of being a mother, there's a confidence that inevitably follows because you're like, bitch, I brought
And keeping
life
a child,
here.
and she is still
She
alive.
is every year. I'm like, I told her the other day. I was like, I'm just really proud that you're alive now. And she was like, what? I was like, you don't understand how hard it is to keep me alive and you alive. Like this is
Hmm.
crazy. So yeah, and I would say like, that just the inevitable confidence that you get as a parent just by doing it every single day and showing up for something every single day. But I think also with my relationship with Jamila and what we do, showing up for this show, showing up every single week. We're talking through things, saying things that I've never even said out loud or considered sharing. And I think that that also helped mold me into the mother that I am today, even subscribing to some of Jamila's views on motherhood that maybe I would have never even considered before, uh and knowing that I did want to do motherhood differently than my mom had done, not totally different because my mom was a great mom, but there were certain things that I was like, you know what, if I ever have a kid, I'm not doing that. And I remember saying that as a kid, but then you become a mom and you're like, okay, we got to hide the weed. They
Hmm.
can't know. Don't say vagina. Like all these things that I'm like, girl,
All these rules you've given yourself.
all these rules that inevitably like made me I feel made me feel separate from my parent. Like sometimes I felt like, are you insulting my intelligence? Because I swear to God, I saw what I saw.
Hmm.
And, I think, being able to really have a more honest relationship with my daughter, um, is in part to the becoming her mother, A, and then also meeting Jamila, B, tapping into our community as well of mothers that are like, hey, I have a 20-year-old and these are all the things I wish I didn't do. And,
Hmm.
so just using the resource of our platform has really helped guide my motherhood as well.
Jamila, how do you describe your mothering style?
Honest, real. I think I was one of those people when I got pregnant. I was really adamant about being a mom not changing me. Like I wanted to. My parents kind of always prioritized their lives, and so I kind of in ways saw examples of that. And so I didn't really, I didn't, I felt like I had to change, but inherently I didn't feel like I had to like be completely different. I was like, my parents went out and like, even as like they were pretty young parents, they went to Tuskegee. I was like a Freaknik as an infant and stuff. So like, it was always a part of their lives. They integrated me into their lives. And so I kind of wanted to do the same thing. But inevitably birth changes you. You become a woman. And I was empowered by it. I was motivated. I was more clear about certain things, like the fucked up situations I put myself in. I was like, bitch, it's not just you anymore. Like you could stay and sit in this, funky place, but like you're responsible for someone else and your energy is also like radiating to someone else. And so it made me a lot more self-aware. Um, so it's changed me in like a good way, in the best way.
I love how you mentioned like your parents integrated you into their lives. Me and my husband always have this conversation like, y'all got to roll with us. We are very much so about to enjoy this vacation. If you think we are about to go suffer, we not with y'all, y'all with us. But that thought is even, I still judge myself for having that thought because something in me still says, well, wait a minute, that's not right. You're supposed to conform to your children and you're supposed to. So I think society has kind of boxed us in because it's given us this set of rules that nobody really even said out loud, but it's like this assumption that you make that you have to be whoever you think you have to be once you become a mom because now someone is watching you. You are responsible for someone. Do you all feel pressure by the content, by your podcast? Does that pressure you in your role as mothers? Like, are you having to have conversations sooner than you would have because of your platform? Are you having to consider different things? Like you're considering maybe different perspectives that you had not explored before having this platform. Like, how has the podcast affected or impacted your parenting, good or bad?
I think that it's kind of made me more confident in ways in some of my parenting. And you know what, like it's not like my content is like someone told my daughter at school and I gotta like go talk about something. I parent from a very like real life place anyway. Anything that comes up, like we're gonna talk about it. But like my daughter's not questioning my content, you know, and if anything, she's really proud of us. I think the only thing is like maybe if I'm like walking into the school and I have like good moms love flowers with like a weed plant and like granted we live in LA so it's not crazy, but sometimes I'm like, maybe I could have not worn this shirt. Or I'm conscious not to like, I'm not going like to the parent teacher conference leading with my podcast. So I'm a podcaster. Like I'd rather it like be a natural, like discovery. But if anything, it's made me like the guests that we've had, the conversations that we've had, like just evaluating our belief system every week and saying, hey, like, do we believe in this shit or did someone tell me to believe in it, has made me learn a lot of things from women that I get to interview. And so I have a lot of different perspectives. I've met a lot of women, like Erica said, that have, a deeper understanding of motherhood because I've been doing it for longer. So I have like a bigger buffet of knowledge to pull from. And so I think it's, if anything, it's made me a better mom. And even like the content, I realize like we have a book, we have hours of adult honest conversation. And one day, absolutely, my kid's going to be like, yeah, so what's up with this or whatever. But again, I think our platform really encourages us and has encouraged us to show up authentically, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. So there's nothing that I'm not here to pretend in front of my kid. I'm not here to be a different version of myself. In fact, I'm really proud of the woman that I am and the decisions that have led me here and like made me the person that I am. So there's never a time that I'm like feel like I have to censor or be ashamed of, whatever I've said on the podcast. And it's made me like feel more confident in being imperfect and growing, because I realized like there's going to be a lot of shit that I said 5 years ago or 3 years ago that I no longer agree with. And I'm going to be able to have the open conversation to be like, and I've grown, and I feel differently. And I get to be that example to Luna. Like, you're not stuck in this same version of yourself forever. You will change. Your ideas should change. They should evolve as you learn more knowledge or you have more experience. And so there's nothing I'm really like, oh no.
I was reading a book, and one of the lines in the book literally said, like, your goal should be to disagree with the woman you were last year. Like, if you are still in agreement with 2022 version of yourself, you're not growing, you're not evolving. Like, things should be changing, and that's not anything that we should frown upon. That's literally the sign that you are evolving and maturing. Speaking of evolving and maturing, the taboo behind moms and marijuana, moms and weed right here out in LA is different out in LA. Like, I walked up in here, I thought I was in a dispensary. Right? It's like the block is hot. It's a different, y'all don't have the stigma that a lot of the other, parts of the country have. Do you think that will ever change? And is this just an outside looking in type of thing? Do I just think that y'all don't have a stigma because I live in Atlanta where we do? Is it really acceptable here? Like, what does that really look like?
I mean, I think that there's definitely places all over the country where can be even dangerous to smoke weed, especially because of the stigma. I think in California, in Los Angeles in general. I mean, like I grew up, weed was illegal. It's not anymore, but growing up it was illegal. But there was always, there's this culture of like weed life, high life, from movies really that kind of, I guess maybe has taken the edge off of whatever it looks like here. I started smoking weed. My first time I smoked weed, I was 12. And I started smoking weed consistently in high school. And, I think that for me, my relationship with the plant has evolved over time as well. Like the reasons I used it then versus why I use it now has evolved. And, I think hopefully, by me and Mila normalizing smoking and being mothers and being entrepreneurs that get a lot of shit done, there is a kind of softening of the stigma. But I think it's definitely, there's a lot more work to be done, obviously. I don't hide my consumption from my daughter, and I never really have. And that's one of the things that actually I took from Mila when I met her. She shared this beautiful story, and she shared it on her podcast about this couple that she met in Atlanta, actually, and how they talked about the plant with their children and how they didn't hide it, and they actually was like, look at this beautiful flower. You want to touch it? And made it, because it is nature, And so it has made even my daughter, when I smoke, she could give a fuck. She don't care. She's in the, okay, bye. I'm in the other room.
So do you say I'm about to go smoke some weed? I'll be back.
Yeah. I'm about to go smoke, or I'm about to go smoke. I'm gonna go outside and smoke
next level.
Smoke my flowers. I'll be right back. Or hey, go out the other room. Go in the other room.
And she knows what time it is.
I mean, think about, you have a glass of wine in front of your kid, and you
don't. Even my thought about, as you're saying this, is the social construct of right and wrong is still going through my head while you're saying this. That's how messed up the whole thing is.
Well, I know, but it's and it's really a mindset shift. Because you could pour a glass of wine in front of your kid
and not think twice
about it. Drink it while you're watching a movie with him or her, and never have a conversation, not ask for permission, not say, hey, mommy's gonna pour some wine now.
Not feel judged, not care if you're judged.
Right.
Or, drink 3 glasses of wine at dinner and then drive your kid home. And I'm not saying you're being reckless, but I'm just saying it's essentially,
let's talk about it.
It's actually more dangerous. And it's a flower. It really is a plant, especially if you are getting it, from wherever. I don't know where you get it, but it's a plant. And so I think my daughter really understands that it's a flower. She's asked me what I use it for, and I say it's mommy's medicine. I use it when I have a headache, my stomach hurts, or I feel a little bit nervous or overwhelmed, or if I just want to relax. And she knows, you don't touch my shit. And she don't even want to touch my shit, And granted, I don't know what the future holds for her in the future as a teenager exploring. But I have a suspicion that she's not really going to care to even
because
try.
It's been so normalized, probably.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been this secret, oh my God, let me sneak away. Then that gets the curiosity sparked of what is that thing you're doing?
And that is what happened to me as a child. My mom smoked weed, and my stepfather smoked weed, and they would always hide it and be so weird about it, or I'd find something and then they'd be I would get in trouble, and I was what the fuck is going on? That's what I was saying when they're insulting my intelligence. That then when I finally figured out what it was, I was oh, let me try this.
I need some of that.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, growing up in LA, obviously we have a different relationship with the plant, but just in general, that was my biggest thing. I felt so disrespected when my parents would go off in the garage and they would just have this smell and there'd be this whole thing, and I'd be okay, well, you're lying. Or it's just that thing where you're watching a movie and they put their hands in front of your face because they're there's a sex scene, and it's okay, well, this is even more awkward, And so I really always vowed not to be that parent in a lot of ways. And like you said, the mindset shift. Literally, it only took that one time. I was in Atlanta in the West End, and they had some really hippie friends. They got in the car with their 1,700 kids, and they had this big ass bud. And it's oh, when I saw that, I was in college. I wasn't even thinking about kids, but I was oh, that's what I'll do. And I just kept it in the back of my mind. And so when I had kids, I never, and even for me, I smoked a little bit while I was pregnant. I smoked when I breastfed. And I didn't really feel guilty about it. And maybe it was because of the culture that I come from, but I didn't feel guilty about it because I knew that it was a flower. I knew it wasn't harming my baby. And like intuitively, that was a choice that I had that communication with the womb for me and for my child, that was okay. But, I do notice it's so crazy because I don't really care a lot about people's opinions, but I'm very hyper aware of I'm a Black woman. And even in California, like it's crazy that, like I said, I'll wear certain like our own merch going into the school, but because she goes to a predominantly white school, I am hyper aware of like I'm not about to drop you off reeking of weed, and I'll be a little more conscious when wearing the marijuana flower saying good moms love flowers when I walk into the school. But mostly that's because I don't want her to be targeted, or I don't want anybody else to make an assumption about me or her. I guess like the more our podcast and our platform grows, like that's like less, there's going to be obviously like people are going to be able to find it easily. And gratefully, I'm thankful to live in California where it's not this big thing. And it's not like it's not like it's a pretty liberal space. But for the most part, I do believe that like having conversations with kids does kind of take away that curiosity, because we're like, you can't lie to me and I already know.
And in the reality of things, like if we really keep it real and talk about even how, Netflix and Hulu have these specials on like the opioid epidemic, right? And we start comparing prescription drugs that are 1,000% legal, that nobody is truly regulating
and being abused.
I've literally know of a person who has done several drugs and said that the addiction to opioids was much harder to kick opioids than cocaine, which is not something that I would expect based on what we've been taught, what we've been led to believe. And so even when we think about, the prescription pills, that is like the stigma, the stereotypical soccer mom that's doing,
Right.
That's popping pills to stay cool. That is even acceptable, right? Nobody questions you when you're down at the pharmacy refilling your prescription.
Nobody's and shit.
Nobody's questioning you. Like nobody's questioning you. So I think it definitely is something that has to be considered, especially when we just think about what it really takes to be moms. Like when I became a mom, my question was like, how are y'all not doing drugs?
How?
Like, how? And then throw in multiple children. Throw in not having support or help or a partner. Like, how? How are you doing it? And I think now women are like starting to cry out for help. Like we've seen several women just over the last few days making these social media videos of like, this shit is hard. Like this cannot be life. And I get that I signed up for this when I decided to have this child, yet living in America, that's supposed to be just like the place to be, right? And I have zero resources. I have zero access to what I need. And so I think the community that you all are building, the resources that you're building, you all just being advocates for women needing fucking help. Like I just need help, and it's okay to admit that I need help. It's okay to turn to a friend and help one another. And before the show, we were talking about like communes, like moms getting together and let's just figure this out. Like let's just create a community. Do y'all think that that's the future, or do y'all think that's just like a figment of our imagination?
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I've seen a few articles recently about like older women who are like retiring together and buying one big house. And I'm like a community bitch. So I'm here for it. Like, let's take turns cleaning. I want to take a turn. I want just to have Mondays. I don't want to do it every day. So if we could like garden together, like have some like, farm hands and like have little separate houses on the prairie, I'm here for it.
I don't think anything is off the table. I mean, look, we're living in the world of robots, basically. Like, I don't think that anything is a wild thought. And if anything, I feel like that is actually going back to the OG version of what motherhood is supposed to be, or parenthood. Parenthood is supposed to be, the village. I was thinking about that today because I was telling you I went to go look at a house and it was so expensive, and I was like, but it was trash, and I was like, what the hell is happening? And I was like, I might as well. And I've played with this idea. I've even like talked about it and stuff, and thought about it. For me personally, if we're gonna be on the commune, like I'm a Scorpio. I need alone time. I need quiet. I don't want to see niggas for like a few days sometimes. Yeah. Like I am cool being totally by myself for like a few days. So the commune would have to be very spread out. I'm gonna need my own studio apartment or something. But But yeah, I mean, I think especially for single mothers, this shit is hard. It is
Inexpensive as
Motherhood is
hell.
not. We were not supposed to do this alone. We were not supposed to do this alone. And I know that even the married moms, I know that sometimes you guys feel alone as well. And it really does require community. It really does require a tribe. It really does require support if you want to be fully happy. You can do it without it, but you're not going to be happy.
You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be fulfilled. You're going to be stressed the hell out. You're not going to be able to enjoy it. You're going to look up. Your kid's going to be old as hell. You're going to be mad. Nobody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants that experience. So any resources that we can share, I definitely think, not even just single moms, because to your point, married women ain't just out here living lavishly. It ain't. I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions that just separates. It's just a point of separation. It's just something for us to lean on and say, well, you got it better than me, or I got it harder than you. Ain't no awards for any of that. Like, it's hard out here. Period.
Well, I think that there's like a divide too that's been created by women as well. Like, oh, I'm married. Like, well, I got wifed. You know what I mean? Where then like the single moms are like, well, bitch, I got my weekends free.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
But I think that I know that a lot of times even married women, they feel very alone. Their partners are not showing up. They might as well be single parents, And so I think that's the misconception of marriage. You just automatically think that you have this built-in support system, and that is not the case, unfortunately, all the time.
Mm-hmm. I think we discovered that a lot through our friendship too. Just like meeting at a divine time where we were kind of in the same space, like new moms recently breaking up with long-term partners. We found like in our friendship and in our partnership, we found like, oh, you could be my baby daddy. Like, oh, these are the things I wanted to do. You want to go on vacation together? You want to put the kids in ski classes together? You want to go to Colorado? We'll do it together. Fuck it. Like it was like a source of empowerment and partnership, like putting them in summer camp, flying them out to us in New York. Like it was like we felt empowered in our singledom because we came together to figure it out. And I think sometimes people, like women, are so caught up on the romantic partnership that like you forget that like you can join forces with 5 homies or one homie, and you really don't know like how that will, like your kid will have an automatic built-in sibling, and you might build a business or 3, you know what I mean? But like we also have like the power in that way. Like if we come together and we do join resources, and I got a DM recently because I moved, and they're like, I'm so proud of you. You used to live with Erica and now you got a place. And I was like, we didn't used to live together, but I know how it may seem that way. But it's like, yeah, like this friendship made me feel better about my, like, not my better about my singlehood, but like my choice to be single, because I know a lot of moms listening, or a lot of single moms or whatever, a lot of Black moms or women of color avoid breakups and stay in terrible relationships because they're afraid to be alone, because they're afraid of what it looks like alone, because it is a lot to carry by yourself, and the thought of it is fucking daunting. But through leaving those situations and saying, you know what, fuck it, let me see what happens, and then discovering my friendship with her, I really gained the empowerment that I needed, that like, oh, you can be happy and you can have partnership and you can have support, and it doesn't have to look like this Disney movie.
I love that. And I am all for making choices that are truly going to make you happy, make you feel whole, not choices based on what other people think, or choices based on, other people's opinions of you. So I love that y'all are even examples of it. Just because it didn't go this way does not mean that it's not going the way that it's meant to go. Right. But I cannot let this end without circling back to this married couple that she was in a relationship with, because we're talking about this village, right? We're talking about non-traditional circumstances. And in my mind, when I think about the conversation of poly, the sister wife thing sounds good, to help out with these damn kids, to clean the house. Like, we can share responsibility. That sounds great. But in my mind, the sharing of the man is where it stops for me. Tell me about this experience, and is this something that you could seriously see yourself being a part of, like, long term?
No. Okay. This was a season in my life where, I think it came to me at a really important time where my relationship had ended through deep distrust. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Deep distrust and betrayal. in what I thought was going to be a marriage. Because I would, like Mila said, she found me on the internet. I got my little fat ass ring. I was engaged, planning my wedding in Jamaica, literally days away from sending out my bridesmaids invitations when all my world came crashing down. So my belief system in marriage and union overall was like, oh, this is trash. Men cannot be trusted. I don't give a fuck if you're married. Like, no one could be trusted. So when I met this amazing couple, they really changed my mind about that because of their radical honesty. They were so open with one another, and that was all I really craved in my previous relationship, because I was down to play like how they play in their relationship with my partner, but it just weren't there. It wouldn't have gone the same. So when I saw this example of, wow, you're married, you have a kid, you guys are both successful, you guys are both beautiful, so honest, so loving to one another, and I felt honored to kind of be able to come in and share in their energy and in their space. And I'd never done anything like this before, so they really helped guide me through the ground rules of their relationship. We stay on this group text. We don't ever veer off of here. And then they really courted me, so I felt like they were dating me. And it just really was what I needed at that time. And, but for me personally, no. Me and my partner, we are open to playing together with other people, but I don't know if about an actual relationship, which this couple that I had this this experience with, they were venturing into actually wanting a girlfriend, and that's not something I would want to do in my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say I'm not necessarily jealous, but I am possessive and wanting the sacredness to be here. You're not about to start telling no bitch I love you.
This is where we draw the line. Okay.
You're not going to start confiding and pillow talking. There's none of that happening. So yeah, no, I don't know if that's really right for my relationship, but I like women. So.
I have a question. I have another question. This is a personal question. How do threesomes work? I'm sorry, baby. I had to ask. My husband be like, what's wrong with you? I don't understand how threesomes work.
What do you mean?
How do they work?
Isn't someone getting left out at some point? The logistics of it all.
You take turns.
I mean, there's always
somebody's left out.
But no, there's you take because all three of you can experience pleasure at one time.
There's maybe
he's yeah, it's possible. Wow. Okay.
Maybe it's only one.
Well, you have to like a women to be able to experience.
So that's a prerequisite.
No, but even
I have questions, y'all.
Well, you don't have to,
no,
because she can be you can be riding the man and she can get her pussy ate. But you guys don't even ever have to really talk, or not talk.
You don't have to interact.
That sounds really transactional.
Okay, I'm envisioning this. Okay.
So you're here, she's here, or it just you take turns.
Maybe somebody goes to get some water.
Okay.
Maybe someone's just pumping up the other person.
Hyping them up.
Yeah.
Go, you doing good, that. Yeah. Seriously.
Wow. I mean, you have to be. There's a level of trust. There's a level of just you enjoying seeing your partner experience pleasure.
That's probably where I'm getting.
That needs
not going to enjoy that.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm getting.
That needs to exist. There's also maybe a level of attraction you should have for women, if that's what you choose to do in your threesome setup or whatever. But for me, I'm a voyeur, and I genuinely enjoy seeing the person that I love experience pleasure. And so I know that, but there's a boundary around what that pleasure looks like, right? There's still rules. And
Is there?
Of course.
Really?
What are your rules?
Yeah, what are the rules? What would the rules be?
No, I don't want to say necessarily in the sex, but I mean after the sex.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Conduct.
But there's not a rule you cannot do that.
I know that some people navigate their threesomes like that, and I just feel that's it gets in the way of just experiencing what needs to happen, because don't kiss her. You can't kiss her.
Yeah, I think that's petty.
Then what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's okay, well,
unless she's we're treating her a little unless we're doming her,
slutting her out.
Yeah, we're slutting her out. Then she's obviously complicit in that and knows and has given us consent. I know that I'm your little hoe for the night. Then yeah, but I think ultimately, if you're gonna do it, then you just gotta
do it.
Do it.
Yeah, no, catch me in about 10 years. I think once I cross
not in 10
over,
years,
girl, I think I'm gonna in my mind, I'm going to develop a level of I don't give a fuckness when I turn like 40.
But why do you even?
How old are you? When's your birthday?
I am 37. I'll be 38
Not
October
three-
1st.
not
So I got to
3
wait.
years.
Yes, I got to give.
In 2 years, I'm gonna be a whole different version
Yes,
of
I'll
myself.
be
Why are
different
you
version.
like? Why do you feel like you want to do this? This doesn't sound like you want to.
Well, I think I'm going to be married for a really long time. And I don't know. I just like,
Want to be able to?
I'm curious. I'm very curious to hear from people who have experienced this because in my mind, the thought of me like looking up and my husband is getting hit is just like, and it ain't my head. You know, it's just like that will make my head spin. I cannot wrap my mind
What
around
about
it.
like maybe he just goes and does his thing, you do your thing, and then y'all just don't really see each other do your thing? Because there's that setup too.
That's not a threesome though, is it? That's a
No,
that's
that's a hall pass.
right.
That's
Yeah,
different.
no. Mm.
Yeah, I know. I feel you. Like it's a different. You could talk about that shit all day, but like the visual, you're like, bitch.
She doing something I can't right. She done pulled a trick out her bag. I would be like, how am I supposed
Yeah,
to
he ain't never
compete?
made that sound.
That part.
Right. I've had that happen. You know what? And that's another thing. You have to also know your role. Like, I've been previously a lot of times a unicorn. Like, I'm coming into the other people's shit. So I'm like, I don't care. I'm not triggered at all. But I've also been in that position with my boyfriend. And I'm like, it's not going to work.
What do you do though? Because it's too late, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to be the
I don't
weirdo
talk
and
about
ruin
it.
it, right? I would be the weirdo and ruin it. It would be over. Yeah, interesting.
I mean, but that's the learning lesson, I think, because even in my relationship, there's been times where we've been monogamous. There's been time where we've had other, we lived across the country from each other, and we've had other sex partners, and we knew that, And I think I think I had to test myself because, like, even talking about us changing and evolving in the beginning of our podcast, we were single. We're like, you know what? Open relationships are the bomb, never being in one in our lives. We're like, yeah, this makes sense because niggas be cheating. So, and then we were like very like into the open and poly lifestyle. And then we got boyfriends and we're like, maybe not, but I think the biggest lesson is the exploration of it and like letting it happen and then being like, no, not for me. But also loving someone, allowing the freedom and being able to, I think a lot of it was like, as a woman, a lot of men say they can handle things and then they can't. And I think for me, I was testing it. And for my man to still love me and accept me, even knowing like maybe I was screwing somebody else where a lot of men could never, it was like, it made me feel really loved by him and really safe. Like there's nothing I could do that's going to make you feel any less of me. You're not going to judge me after this, But also, I think there's a level of like, I love this person so much. And now that I know you had sex with someone else, am I going to leave you? Do I not love you anymore? Does this make me not want to be, you not be in my life? And every time I was like, fuck, no, still like him. God damn it, and then I had to move past it. And like, granted, they're like, and then I've gotten into situations where we're together and bitches are there and it was my idea. And I'm like, this is a terrible idea. And having to get over that too and having to accept like, bitch, you're not as open as free as you thought you were. You're a territorial, crazy bitch. And having to like accept that too and just like surrender to that. Like, sometimes we want to be this like free person. And then sometimes
the reality of it
the
is.
reality is just like sometimes we're jealous. And maybe 3 years, 5 years from now, we'll revisit this and I'll feel different in my relationship and more secure or whatever the fuck, or maybe we'll try in different ways, but like, it's worth the experience and the lesson. And, and then it's also like, oh, you're human and you will inevitably fuck up. And it may not be because you're sleeping with somebody else. It may be because you forgot this or didn't do this. But ultimately, am I in this partnership because I fuck with you and I love you and we're going to be together?
For a long time.
For a long time.
Yes.
It's like that long game is like, God, I'm going to have to forgive some shit. I can't run.
That part. It all. So this is Girl Stop Playing. Before I let y'all go, I would love for you to share a word of encouragement for a woman who's watching this that needs to stop playing with her potential. Like, get your shit together regardless of where you are, what you're going through, because y'all have been there, done that, and you're the product of following your purpose. So some advice for the ladies out there that need to stop playing.
Girl, stop playing.
That's it. That's the advice.
Stop playing with yourself. Stop playing with your money. Stop playing with your time. Stop playing with your energy. You already know because women, we be knowing our intuition is always on point because we have that womb and that eye and that knowing. So if you're in some shit you're not supposed to be in, if you're in a job you ain't supposed to be in, if you're in a relationship you're wasting some time in, you already know. I don't even got to tell you. So if you're listening, and you know that this message is for you, stop playing and choose yourself and bet on yourself because you really never know what's on the other side when you do that. The good Lord, the intuition, the good mother tells you everything you need to know, and it's whispering in your ear very loudly. So stop playing with yourself and choose you.
Just do it. Take the first step. It doesn't have to be perfect. As women, we think that in order for us to show up, it has to look a certain way. Get messy. The message is usually in the mess is in the message. So, or the way the message is in the mess, and you will hold yourself back, waiting and waiting and waiting to chase your dreams. Also, stop waiting for your friends to do shit. Just do it. If you want to take that trip, just go, girl. And matter of fact, you should just come on our retreat. We have the Good Vibe retreat in Costa Rica next summer, 2024. So I really want to encourage you to come, because if you're looking for a tribe member, if you're looking for friends, if you're looking to build that community, this is where you do it. Our community here is open for everyone. You don't have to be a mom. You can be an auntie. You could be whatever. And I think a lot of times we hold ourselves back waiting to do things with people or our friends. And then we miss out on opportunities. We miss out on meeting our best friend. So I just would like to say, stop waiting. Just do it.
Stop waiting, just do it. Y'all, hopefully this conversation has given you the permission that you need to stop playing with your potential. Stop waiting on it to be perfect. Take the first step, even when you don't know what's coming next. Make sure y'all like this video, comment below, head over to their Instagram website, get signed up for their retreat, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. And take it a step further and go ahead and join our private community over on Patreon, because it comes with some pretty bomb perks, including early and discounted access to our upcoming events, behind the scene exclusives with some of your favorite guests, the opportunity to call in on an upcoming show, the chance to vote on topics and guests for brand new shows, and I'm even giving you unlimited access to my vault of business classes where I'm teaching you everything from Airbnb to developing digital products and everything in between. And you can get access to our Patreon for as little as $5 a month, okay? Get in where you fit in, and I'll see you on the inside.